There we go.
Yeah, what's up?
So, champ,
What's up? Let me clean my
What's up?
camera off.
how's everything?
It's going good, man. How y'all doing?
Doing good.
Good.
Doing good. Glad to have you on.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
How's camp going so far?
Camp's going good. Just got done with sparring right now, actually. Got a solid 8 rounds in. Yeah, we got some. I mean, I'm fighting Valdez, so the style is not hard to find around in LA. Mexican style, some pressure fighters, pretty easy to get around here. There's a lot of them, so we mixing it in with a few different kids at a time. But yeah, it's going good, man. Working my ass off for it.
And this is a rematch. So, what's the plan for? Not the game plan, but what do you plan to bring different to the table against them?
Man, I think I'm just a completely different fighter since the first fight. The first fight was back in 2019. I was only 22, 23 years old. I just turned 27 yesterday, so I'm grown. I'm a full grown 30-pounder at this time. When he fought me, I was still making 126 easily. I got a lot more under me. I got more experience now. I'm stronger. I mean, the game plan ain't gonna be too much different because I don't think he's changed much as a fighter. To be honest, he still seems like he got the same style. So I'm gonna just go out there and box, and I'm gonna sit down when it's time. But I'm gonna pick my fights. I'm gonna pick my battles with him. I'm gonna make sure I'm always one step ahead of him, and make sure that I stay in control. That's one thing. I think the first fight I was in control, and it started getting pretty easy. That I kind of I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm gonna just coast to the end and win this fight. But that was a hard lesson I took when I took that fight. I think that was like maybe my second, third 10-rounder. I got a few of them under me now, so now I understand you can't lose focus in fights because one fight can change that whole fight, or one punch can change the whole fight. Sorry.
Yeah. Is this a fight? Did you ever think you was gonna get a rematch of this fight?
Honestly, I was like thinking that it wasn't gonna come no more. I was really hoping for it. Oscar himself, he told me he'd give me a rematch right after the fight. He said, "You know what? You earned my respect. I'll give you a rematch." And I was like, "Cool, man." Like I was thinking, "All right, cool, let's get it." But our careers kind of went different ways. He went and fought Burchelt. He got that title shot. I was fighting tough fights, and I was getting some weren't going my way. And his career was climbing. My career was kind of on a bumpy road. But since he lost his last fight, I lost my last fight. It seems like it's a perfect time that this fight has come about. I wasn't expecting it, but I'm very happy that it's here now.
No way. Coach, you got any questions for him? You on mute.
So I went and back and watched the fight with you and Valdez, and I did kind of feel that you kind of like let off a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Almost like you got bored.
Yeah.
Because you could do what you wanted to do when you wanted to do it. And I felt like some of the rounds, especially after the knockdown, maybe like around round 4, I feel like you kind of got bored. You felt like, oh man, I got this one. You know what I'm saying? And just looked at him as he was not as much of a threat.
Yeah.
Um,
That's exactly what happened. I kind of like fell asleep on it. Like I was kind of just like, all right, I got this in the bag.
yeah.
He caught me with that shot, and it was a good shot.
Yeah.
I was hurt a little bit, but I don't think the ref should have stopped it.
No,
Yeah, I
I
agree.
definitely didn't agree with that.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
that's one of them things where I feel like it was more so of a let's save this guy,
Yeah, they had
meaning
plans for
Valdez.
him. Yeah,
Yeah,
they didn't want to mess up their money,
right.
but it's a different story this time. I think he's kind of on his way out, and I think it's gonna be a different story.
And
It's gonna be a different.
I don't want to say I don't want to make it like the only way you're gonna win. No, I'm saying, like, not really the only way you're gonna win, but the advantage is that he's on his way out. He's still a fairly dangerous opponent,
Yeah.
you know. But I want to see what changes you make. You know, in the beginning, you was moving in that circle, especially in the first round. You was moving in the circle, and even though he was trying to attack, it wasn't like he was catching you flush. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have been like the third round. I think the second round you slacked off some with the circle. Then I think the third round you like pretty much like stop. You know what I'm saying? Um, but I definitely saw where when you was using that circle, you know, moving in that circle, I saw like
Yeah. He couldn't.
he was trying, but he wasn't real effective.
Yeah, he couldn't figure it out. He really don't like people moving on him. He wants you to sit there with him. So that's basically what we're gonna do. We're gonna keep the target moving and
Mhm.
just keep running him into shots and see the game plan. I don't think it's gonna be too much different. It's just gonna be a lot sharper.
Right, right,
So
right. And
with this fight, when you make the game plan for this fight, do you watch the previous fight and just learn from mistakes that you made in that fight, or do you
uh,
watch fights he's had since then,
Yeah,
capitalize off mistakes on that fight?
I've seen the fight between him and I a few times already, so I kind of remember a lot of it. Um, and I've seen his fights with Shakur. Shakur boxed him beautifully,
Yeah.
taking that left step back, turning him, all that stuff. I'm keeping that all in mind. But I did get a new coach for this camp, and I think his style is perfect for this fight. I'm working with Eric Brown. He's been in the game for a minute, and yeah, he's got me on my toes. He got me boxing. He got me touching the body when it's time. He's really bringing something out of me. He's pushing me to the limit every day.
And what do you
I
think a win over Valdez will do for you at this point in your career?
Man, it's gonna put me back on top. My name was buzzing after that fight. My name was buzzing after a few of my fights, but I lost some. Even the ones I lost, some people, they still seen it. They still gave me a lot of respect. But I got to get on that winning side, and beating Valdez, it's gonna put me right there for a title shot. It's gonna put me right
Yeah.
there for a title shot. It's gonna bring some big fights up, and that's what we do it for.
Yeah, and I also think you're in a wide open division too, 130. I don't think there is no true top dog there right now.
Yeah, I think um, the big name I think right now is probably Navarrete, but I mean he's a small 30-pounder. He's coming up from 122.
Yeah.
That's where he started at. So I mean we'll see what he got. But besides that, there's not like a household name. That
and
way.
that's
Oh,
good. You know what?
I apologize. Happy belated birthday too.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Watching the cause Shakur fought him after you.
Yeah,
You know, watching your fight with him, I kind of think I feel like your fight really gave like the blueprint to beating him.
yeah.
Cause any
I think so.
coach paying attention was able to see that when you was moving in that circle, he was having a hard time. You know, that's kind of how he got caught. That's kind
Yeah,
of how he got caught. You know, and that was a crazy angle that it came off of.
He
You
was hurt
know,
bad
that's how he got
too.
caught. You know, and that right there, I feel was left a blueprint, letting people know, okay, this how you
yeah,
get him. You know
yep.
what I'm saying?
I definitely
Because
agree there, man. Because before I fought him, not too many people really tried to outbox him like that. They
right,
were just going sitting there with him. And I agree. I feel like Shakur probably watched my fight with him quite a few times to study
yeah,
and see some holes.
yeah. Because that little movement and the good thing, like something that I teach is that circle. You know, not that crazy moving and all that, just that circle. You know, and I try to tell guys, if you just keep working in that circle, a guy that don't have footwork, a guy that don't know how to cut the ring off the proper way, they're gonna have a hard time. And even
Yeah,
when they do try to fight, they're not gonna be very successful or effective. And the great thing was you was punching. You was putting your hands together, you know, punching together at time. You was picking your punches and the punches you was picking was great.
yeah,
Once again, that's how you clipped them.
yeah.
You know, for real. You know, that's how you clip them. You know, you won't just out there throwing a bunch of punches like a lot of guys do. You know, you was throwing like the right punches, the
Make it.
right punches, and you know, so I definitely want to see how this one gonna go.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting, man. On a big card, big stage. It's my
Yeah,
first paper card.
yeah,
You know, it's gonna be a very fun night.
yeah. That's what's up.
So how long have you been boxing for?
I've been boxing. I had my first fight when I was 12. I kind of started like when I was around 10. Um, but I also played a lot of different sports, like in high school. So when I was playing like football or whatever else, like I was taking some time away from boxing. But I think once I was like 15, 16, I said, I'm going to stop all this other stuff and just focus on boxing because I knew it was what I wanted to do since a kid. So I knew it was time to take it much more serious and dial in with that. So, I mean, I would say maybe 15 years I've been boxing.
And since you played multiple sports, what was it that got you into boxing?
Boxing, my father was a fighter. So,
Okay.
you know, coming up as a kid, like I always remember going to the gym with him and going to his fights. And it was just something that was just a part of my childhood. You know, boxing was, I mean, his brothers were fighters. Like, you know, I come from kind of like a family of fighters. So it was something that it was always in me. It was always in me. It's just my mom didn't want me to do it. So she tried to push me away and get me in any other sport. But, you know, once I got to a certain age, I started looking around for gyms in the neighborhood and I just found one. Um, one of the kids who was playing football, he's like, yeah, I'm a fighter, man. I was like, man, let me come check out the gym. So ever since then I went. They got me my first fight, and I always loved it, man. I've always fallen in love with it since a kid.
Are there any fighters right now that are pros that you fought as amateurs that people don't know about?
Um, Honestly, I didn't have that big of an amateur career. I
Okay.
had like 35, 40 amateur fights. I did just a couple tournaments. I never won any tournaments. I wasn't a big fan of the amateurs, and I wish I put more time into the amateurs because it plays a big part when you're coming up as a pro. You
Yeah.
know, my route up to where I'm at now, I took a lot of B-side fights um, to make some noise. You know, I understood like I didn't have a lot of amateur fights. I didn't have a big name in amateurs, but I knew I could beat these guys who were these top amateurs. I knew I could beat them in the pros as long as I get 4 to 6 rounds with them. You know, I know I'll break them down and I'll get them out of there. So I took a lot of these tough fights on, and that's kind of just what got my name buzzing. But yeah, in the amateurs, I didn't have too many amateur fights. But it's important, you know. It's definitely important to get them amateur fights up, win those tournaments, get your name out there, so you can start making some money in the pros.
Um, I know you mentioned was um up and down. I know you mentioned how your career was, you know, had started going up and down, you know, a little rocky. Um, during some of them rough patches, right? What are some things that you learned, um, not just about, you know, boxing and in the ring, but what are some things that you learned about yourself when it came to you know, in the ring, like some weaknesses that you may have said, you know what, I need to work on that.
Yeah, man. Life, you know, life gonna test you, and I definitely got tested over the years. Um, you gotta watch who you got around you. You gotta you gotta make sure you don't get comfortable with your own living situation. You gotta make sure you always. Huh? Okay. Yeah, you. That's something for me. I felt like I kind of started getting comfortable here and there, and I was like, damn, man, I'm losing that little spark. I got to get this shit back. And you got to change some shit up. You got to make yourself uncomfortable. You got to do stuff that you're not used to doing. But another, like the people around you, that is very important. It's very, very important. You know, you win in fights. People want to be around you. And for me, I've always had a big heart, especially as a kid. I've always had a big heart. I've always been helping people since I was a kid. Like I remember in middle school and high school, like if I found out one of my homeboys was sleeping at the park because he had shit going on at home, I'd be like, nah, you gonna come stay at my house, bro. Come on. I got you. I'm gonna feed you. I'm gonna make sure you got a spot to stay. Like I'm always just trying to help people. And as my career started climbing too, like I was helping families out. I was helping kids out in the hood. Like there was these young kids, they were living like in a homeless shelter, and their dad was in the hospital and whatever. And like I was taking my time away from training to go help these people, and it was just taking it away. And my old coach buddy, he always told me like, dude, you got to stop. You got to take care of you first. Like if you not good, how you gonna take care of these people? Like you got to make sure you are okay. Put Adam first. And it was hard for me at first. It was very hard at first because I just always wanted to help. But that's something I definitely had to learn. Like help people here and there, but don't let that help hurt yourself when you got a lot of stuff going on. And you know, it's just life. You got lessons as you moving.
Right, right, right. And that's good. That's some good stuff. That's some good stuff. And you know, a lot of time we all want to help people, you know, and sometimes, you know, other people's situations, we allow them to slow down our situations or slow down our growth.
Yeah.
So that was something good. That was something good to recognize, you know.
Yeah, I had to, man. I really had to. If I wanted to get to this next level and get better as a fighter, you know, you got to be very selfish with this sport. It asks a lot of you, and you know, I had to make some decisions.
Right, right.
Who are some people? I'm sure your father was one of them. Who are some people, even if it's now, that you like to study or learn from?
Study and learn from. Yeah, my father was obviously definitely a big part in that. When I first started training with Buddy McGirt, I fell in love. Before I started training with Buddy, when I first met him, I didn't know who he was. I didn't really watch boxing too much as a kid, so I didn't know who he was. I was like, man, who's this guy always talking shit? I was like, this guy always got something to say. But he's a funny guy, man. He's a great guy. I love Buddy. He's like a father figure to me. But yeah, I fell in love with Buddy style. You know, when he first started training me, he was showing me certain things, and I couldn't get it. I couldn't understand it. And I was like, all right, let me go look at his fights and see how he did it. And he literally showed me, he was showing me the same stuff he was doing, winning those world titles. You know, and I was like, all right. So I started watching almost all of his fights. I was just watching how he would move, how he would feint, how he would jab, how he would set up his combinations. And I implemented a lot of that stuff into my fights, a lot, you know. But then once I put it into what I got, I had to put my own style to it and, you know, just figure it out. But fighters today, I like Teofimo Lopez. I really like Teo. I want to see him, you know, back on top. I know he got a tough fight coming up, and you know he got to show up for this one. I've always liked Lomachenko, so I'm pretty hyped to be on his undercard. Who else? Salvador Sanchez is somebody that my dad made me watch a lot. You know, he said that was his favorite fighter. So I was like, all right, let me see what's up with Sal Sanchez. And great, amazing fighter. Sugar Ray Leonard. But besides that, I don't really study too many other fighters. I watch boxing. Like if there's a good matchup on, I'll be tuned in. You know, but nowadays they don't come too often. You know, there's a lot of like lopsided fights, but when there's an exciting matchup on, I'll be tuned in and watching.
How
So,
often
no, go ahead.
how often do you go back and watch like your past performances, whether you won them or lost them? It don't matter. How often do you go back and just watch yourself?
I used to do it a lot more, but I kind of slowed down on it. I kind of more just started watching like my sparring sessions. Yeah, we started recording my sparring lately, so I'll just study those. You know, I'll make sure I'm on my P's and Q's. Sorry, 1 second. Sophie, stop. Come on, bro. I'm doing a little interview right now. But yeah, I'll study a lot of my sparring, like up to date now. Just, you know. But past performances, yeah, I haven't really watched too many of my fights lately, to be honest.
I want to ask you. You brought up big fights and sparring. So I know in the past you sparred in the way. First of all, how was that?
It was great, man. It was great. The first day I was a little nervous because I don't know. I was just a little nervous. I was like, damn, this motherfucker is the monster. Let's see what he's about. And you just see it in his eyes, like he's fucking Jesus. You can't make no mistakes in there. But as the days went on, I got more comfortable in there, and he really liked boxing with me. Like he's like, yo, they wanted me to go to Japan with him for his camp, but I was like, yo, I gotta fight.
I asked about that.
And I can't make that move. So, but yeah, it was a great experience. I loved it. It was great.
I was gonna ask. So once your fight is over May 20th, I think he still has about a month and a half left for his fight. Is that something that you're gonna do again?
We'll see. You know, they reached out to me. They did ask, but I haven't heard from them since because I told them that I possibly will be fighting. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, I've never been to Japan. I think it'd be a great experience. So I'm open to it.
And you've sparred him, and I know you fought Fulton, so you can be the perfect person to ask this to. How do you see that fight playing out?
I think it's a 50-50 fight. I really do. I think Fulton, he got a lot. You know, every time he got a tough fight and people counted him out, he shows up and he brings something new to the table, and it's great to see. You know, he works hard. It shows it. You know, in a way, he's moving up in weight. He got some pop on him. Like, I think he still got some pop on him. I think he'd be okay even at 126. But we're going to see what he could do at 122. I think it's a 50-50 fight. I think it'll go either way. They're both very sharp, both slick. They both think very well. I think Fulton might be a little bit more of a better boxer. But, you know, it's going to be a very interesting fight.
So, yeah, I was going to ask that. So, I know it's different sparring gloves and headgear, so the Inoue power is real?
He got pop. He got pop for his size because, I mean, was he fighting at 118? But, man, his calves, bro, he got some Manny Pacquiao calves on him. I'm like, okay,
Wow.
that's power from his legs are strong, hella strong. So they even asked me, like, oh, how's his power? Like, what do you think? Because I was, like, telling them, like, yo, I'm moving up to 130. Like, I'm a little bigger than him. They're like, it's okay. Come on. Come box. I was like, all right. So they were asking me, like, how's his power? I was like, yeah, he got good pop for his size. He can punch. So I think he'll be okay at 122, and I think maybe make the move to 126, but I think that should be the highest he goes.
Gotcha. So with I know you plan on winning. So let's say you do beat Valdez. Is there a specific person you're going after, or who do you want next if the choice is yours?
Well, from what they've been telling me that this is supposed to be a tune-up fight for Oscar, so he could fight Navarrete.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, I beat Valdez. I think I should rightfully get that same opportunity he's getting. But, you know, we'll see. I don't know. This boxing business is so crooked and corrupt. I mean, they could throw me in there, they can throw me somewhere else, or they could put me on the shelf. I don't know. We'll see. Top Rank, I mean, they did put in this contract, me winning the fight, that they have the rights to 2 more fights of mine. So we'll see what's up. It's going to be in their hand. I would love for a title shot. You know, if that comes about, I'm open for it. If not, just keep me active. You know, I just want to fight. Whoever's around, whoever's ready, I just want to fight. You know, this is how we make our money as fighters, by fighting. So I'll be in the gym. I'll be training. I'll be ready for the phone call.
When you hear things like this is a tune-up for Valdez to get the Navarrete, do you feel disrespected?
I just laugh because the last one was a tune-up. The last one was supposed to be a tune-up. Look what happened. And I took the fight on a day's notice. And not a lot of people know, but I was at a bad place in my life from before that fight. My manager had just dropped me. I had no money in my pocket. I would train for maybe about 3.5 weeks. And I just went to the fight. I was on the undercard. So I was supposed to be fighting Louis Correa, Robert Garcia. I was on the undercard. It wasn't nothing big. But, yeah, I was in a bad spot. Like, I didn't have the best training like I said, I had barely any money in my pocket, and it was just a tough time for me. So when the fight came about, you know, it was a blessing. I was like, man, I could beat this guy. I know I could beat him with the right training or not. I know I got the skills to beat him. And I mean, I trained good enough. I trained well. I got good sparring. But like I said, it wasn't a 8-10 week camp like I got now. Like right now, they gave me enough time. I put muscle on. Now I'm cutting it down. Like I'm getting ready for a proper fight. This last time it was just like, all right, I could fight. Like let's go fight. You know. So I think it's much different now.
Coach, you got any questions for him?
Yeah, just one question right quick. I'm sure you feel you got a few more years in the tank. I'm gonna say fights in the, you know what I'm saying, in the tank. Where do you see what weight do you see yourself probably ending your career?
You know, I'm gonna just take my time with it. Possibly 35. I could maybe go to 40. You know, we'll see. But I ain't gonna push
Right,
it. You know,
right,
I don't
right.
I'm fighting too much. I mean, I just turned 27, and I've always told myself I don't want to fight past like 32. You know, I want to be done. I want to be set. I want to have my money right by then and not have to fight. You know, I want to be able to live my life, the rest of my life, do what I want to do. So that's the plan. You know, get these fights, get this money, and make smart investments. That's what these fighters got to do. You know, you got buying all these chains and all that stuff is pointless. You know, go invest that. Go put it somewhere, make money. Because as a fighter, I could fight Valdez, I could beat him, and then I can go hurt my hand in the gym. I won't fight for the rest of the year. Then what am I supposed to do? You know, it's not a promising sport. It's not a promise in this sport. So you know, I don't want to fight past 32. That's always what I told myself. So I got about 5 years left, and we'll see how it goes.
That's good. That's good. At least
Yeah,
you have a plan. You
Thank
know,
yeah,
you have a
definitely.
you,
plan, and you're working towards your plan. You know, that's great.
sir. Yes.
Is there any fighter that you just really want to fight before you retire, whether they're in your weight
Um,
class now or not, just around it?
Mm, let me think. Let me think. I've always wanted to fight Michael Conlon, but he always turned that.
No, no.
But he's down at 126. I wanted the Shakur fight when we were both at 26. That motherfucker keep growing. He's gonna end up at 140. That'd be cool though. You know, I would love that fight. You know, he's on his way up. I hope they get that fight with Tank. Hopefully, you know, that's the fight boxing needs. Um, you know, I mean, kind of just anybody they put in front of me. You know, I'm open to it. I'm really, really open to anybody.
And the last thing I just have to ask, if it's up to you, what would be your next 3 fights if you could plan it out, have it your way?
I beat Valdez. I would like to have a fight in LA because I haven't fought in LA since, damn, might have been 2017 or something like that. You know, and I got fans out here. I got family. I got friends, and I feel like that's something that I'm kind of lacking is a solid fan base, and that's something I would like to do. You know, fight out here in LA, build that little fan base up. Another thing a lot of people don't know is California is the only commission that offers a pension. If you get 75 rounds in California,
yeah,
you get when you're 55, they give you a pension to the day you die, and that's something that not a lot of fighters know.
yeah.
And it's not just,
Wow.
oh, you got to fight 75 rounds. You could have a fight scheduled for 10. If you knock the dude out in 2 rounds, you still get 10 rounds.
Oh, wow, I never knew that.
Yeah,
So a lot of
yeah.
people don't know that. So I'm like, man, I got to get my rounds up in California because I would love to get that pension. You know, when you older, like you ain't fighting no more. If you ain't got no money coming in, you got to figure something out. So that's something I would like to do after this fight is get back to my roots here in LA and get those rounds up and build that fan base.
Wow, you done taught me something, though. Coach, you got any questions you want to close them out with?
No, well, no, that's it. That's it. That's it. Definitely. I hope we get to hear back from you after you get your win.
Yes, sir.
After you get your win, I hope we get to hear back from you. And get to let the people know, you know, how everything went. We get to ask you some post-fight questions.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm down. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I do just want to ask before you get off. I always ask people, if you don't mind, before you get off, could you just give a shout out to SibbieBoxing?
SibbieBoxing?
Yes.
You just want me to say shout out to SibbieBoxing?
However you want to do it.
All right. Yo, what's up? This is Blunose. I just want to give a shout out to SibbieBoxing. Thank y'all for having me on the show. And I'm looking forward to being on the next one.
Appreciate you, champ. Best of luck.
No problem. All right, guys. Y'all have a good one.
Yes, sir.
You too.